everybody. This is like everyone's first day of your training camp too, right?
That's right.
It's on for you guys now. No more vacation.
What's the summer been like for you? Monitoring these guys, kind of coaching them along the way?
It's been good. Really, the extended time that we've had with them, after spring football, during that summer period, prior to spring football, with Coach Ward and myself, it's been really good to get with these guys as frequently as possible. Even this week with testing, it's good to get down there and be around them, kind of monitor how they're developing, and just continuing to grow as players and coaches get to know each other.
The ring the bell thing. What did you think of that? And what was it like being in that room as guys are lifting and then ringing the bell?
That's the first time I've been around something like that. What I think is great about it is the immediate feedback from yourself and your teammates, realizing that you've just done something better than you've ever done it before. Because part of the challenge as you get older in a program, I think, is how you continue to motivate the players. And I think the ring the bell, it symbolizes improvement, but also symbolizes it's time to go. It's a game day experience. They're coming. That's their test, and they've done better than they have. So I think it's a twofold, the ring the bell. And I really like being around it.
The quarterback's a position where a lot of personalities sort of emerge. Jair is probably one of the better ones in college football. Do you like when a corner or defensive back is not necessarily outspoken, but is very expressive?
I like when they play really well. And not to be short, but great players come in a lot of different packages, and how they handle themselves might not always be an indication of what their personality is. Sometimes it's a persona, and what you see in front of the camera might not be exactly what they're like in the locker room. But guys that are confident, guys that are great teammates, guys that have energy at practice, I think those are the qualities of the coach we're really searching for.
But when a guy's first team All-American and is like that,
that's obviously what we're all looking for, with the talent and having the ability to impact others with that personality. Because you guys have been at practice, he comes out and with his talent and his enthusiasm, he keeps us going on defense, which all great teams have a couple catalysts that keep practice going and keep pushing everyone to keep practicing, keep improving.
I'm sure you've seen the tape of Trayvon before he got injured and how well he was playing. How critical is he to this defense this year, and how's his progression been?
He's continuing to get healthy. I wasn't here for that episode, but I think he's really applied himself from the winter to the spring to the summer, and now it's time for him to really show the hard work he's put in. And we'll be aware of his progression and the amount of volume he has. But this is a big step for him to come back. He's a fine player. What he's done in the past would obviously be huge for us to get that kind of production on the field. So I'm excited to see his body of work and see how he's going to come back.
What's Stacey Thomas mean? What have you seen from him so far, and what's he mean to this defense?
When you start looking at that linebacker position, it's going to start from inside out in terms of communication, in terms of responsibility. With his experience, you'd like to think that he can run the show in there. We might ask him to learn more than one position, in an effort to get the best combination of guys out there. He'll be a guy that, that has the ability to learn it, but also I think it's kind of good sometimes as you get older, you have to find ways to continue to push them. And when you ask older, more experienced players to learn more than one position, I think it creates a new focus for them.
London's a guy that is moving from safety to linebacker. Sat out much in the spring because of the injury, but how's he looking, and what kind of role do you see him playing?
In the opportunities we've had to see him work, he's been a real good surprise. Knowing that we weren't going to get him full time recovering, but he's a smart player. I think he's going to be a guy that can give us some versatility again in helping us in some different packages. So not like Trayvon's injury, but another guy that's coming back from an injury and has a lot to prove to himself. Mentally, and make sure that he's emotionally and physically ready to go, and then a lot to prove to the coaches.
Remember those different players have talked about how easy the defense is to understand, that it's simpler. When you hear those kind of quotes, do you like that? Do you not like that? Like when they say simple or easier to understand, is that music to your ears?
I want it to be player friendly. I'm not so sure if simple's better, if complex is better. I'm not here to say it's better or worse. What I know is my job is to develop that locker room and find the best combination of players to get on the field. And, you know, it was probably 18, 20 years ago, free agency really started getting wild, and the money got really, really big in the NFL. And at that time, you started seeing defensive coordinators start to simplify concepts because the owners needed to see the new players come in and play immediately. In the 70s and 80s, you had teams that had players for 8 to 11 years, and they grew up in a system, and there wasn't a lot of movement within the league. The same thing happens is in my mind, is what you got to do in college football. The better you recruit and the more talent you get in a young roster, how do you turn that talent into production?
Peter, where you guys won't be able to play this year, but the three D1 guys, Boozy and Rajay and PJ and Yuri, we talked about him. What do you think about adding those guys for the future and having them?
You know, it's a unique situation for them and for us. You know, with Rajay and Boozy, it's knowing that you're not going to participate the first year, but still, as a coaching staff, get them prepared and keep them engaged and push them as if they're playing this year. I never want a player to come out to practice and say, hey, you know, I'm just winging it this year, but long-term improvement, I'll get better once it's my time. So it's important for us to make sure that we've given them clearly defined goals of what we expect out of camp. And I think once they understand the expectations and what we expect them to do in terms of everyday preparation and in practice, I think that'll be a little clearer for them on how they handle themselves.
What do you think about Boozy specifically, things that you like about his game?
You know, I like guys that can rush the quarterback. You know, he's an athletic player. I think he can win some matchups on the edge. You know, he's got enough experience that he knows what college's football is all about. So I'm excited about his future.
Coach mentioned Dorian Etheridge as one of the true freshmen who might have a chance. Thoughts on him from what you've seen and maybe where he would fit into the spot?
Yeah, Dorian's going to be in the mix, you know, the inside linebacker spots. You know, there's a couple guys, you know, obviously we recruited really well, got good numbers in the secondary, and then with Dorian and Cam coming in that linebacker spots, you know, we're looking to develop those guys and push those guys as fast as we can, you know, especially early in camp. We need to understand what they can handle mentally, what are their physical attributes, and then once we identified, you know, those two things, then we can really say, okay, what are they going to be moving forward? I think you got to be aware every young player is not going to be prepared to play. And some of it is physically, some of it is mentally, some of it's emotionally. So we need to do a good job not only seeing the product on the field, but their behavior in the meeting rooms, their behavior in the weight room. Is college football too big for them? And do they need to grow a little bit, or are they mentally and physically prepared to do it?
How do you feel about the depth on the defensive line? The starters potentially, presumably, are all really experienced guys, but the guys behind them maybe aren't so much.
I think that's one of the, you know, the areas that we have to see the guys that don't have a lot of experience. You know, the GGs and the Dorseys and Henry coming back. Those guys got to have great camps. TP, Tavares Peterson, those guys got to have great camps. It's we can't go win ball games with 4 defensive linemen. You know, that's one of those positions that takes the whole room for us to be a great defense. So, you know, we actually, as a staff, we filled out goal cards for every player on defense, and they'll be receiving those, and we'll put them up in their locker so they know exactly the expectation and exactly what we need them to do to help us be a great team.
Is that a position change for him at all? It seems that, I don't know, just that he's called like a D lineman and he's like 285 or something now. I didn't know if that was different than
I don't know what was he called in the past.
outside linebacker. Same as Hearns.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we have him listed as defensive lineman, you know, like he is 280. So we'll start him inside. All right. Thanks, guys. And girls.